Welcome to Marriage and Relationship Podcast by Dr. Papu, a place where good marriage and good relationships are not acceptable, where we strive for greatness and excellence, great marriages and excellent relationships. Stay with me. Who knows? Your relationship or marriage may just get the boost it needs. God bless you. I received a question from one of our listeners of the podcast, and the nature of the question is such that I think it affects most of us, the majority of people, especially those who are married. So I thought, let's rather devote this podcast in responding to that question. The question is about creating a balance between your family and between your wife and your family. By family, I mean your parents, your sisters, and your wife. That was the question, but it would actually mean generally and your partner. How do you create a balance between your family and your partner? That's the question. Because at times you must adjudicate, you must decide who's wrong, who's right. Family might be saying this, your partner must be saying this about your family. Which side do you choose a side? How do you negotiate? How do you create a balance so that everybody goes home happy? Let me give you an answer first, and then I'm going to explain why that answer to me is relevant. You don't have to choose a side. By getting married to your partner, you've already chosen a side. You chose your partner. You had your parents, and you chose a partner. And so it's incorrect to talk about which side should I choose. So in other words, you are not called to create a balance. You are biased because of your relationship. Let me explain why I say you are by nature biased, and that is what you should know. Creating a balance is denying the fact that you are married. If it was a girlfriend, I can understand. But when I'm married, it's a different story. Let me explain why. When God created Adam and Eve, the first thing he did was, towards the end of chapter 3, the man shall leave his parents and cleave to his wife. That's number one. When you get married, you leave your parents. You leave them. I know sometimes we don't usually leave. We get into another room or we build some rooms at the back. But in terms of relationship, you've moved away. The apron strings must be cut. You no longer report to your parents. You cleave to your partner, to your wife, to your husband. And if you don't leave your parents, clearly leave, you'll find it very difficult to cleave. And I do understand, parents and our family, they know us. They've been with us, they've been for us, and they're looking after our interest. But I promise you, once we choose, they need to also learn to give way and to know that this now is a different stage altogether. But the Bible not only says you cleave, but it says you become one flesh. How can you be neutral when it's your flesh? You can't. It touches you. The relationship between your wife is closer than the relationship between your parents, you and your parents. You are not one flesh with your parents. You are one flesh with your partner. So what does that mean? It means you stick with your partner. You are biased. It doesn't mean the partner is right. But it means if you must err on the side of your partner rather on the side, because that's your flesh. That's your flesh. You are one. You are one. You can't let the parents separate you. Actually, Paul says the relationship is one of submission and headship. But let me focus on headship. The husband assumes the headship in the family, but that headship is not there for self-serving. It is there for servant leadership. That means even you put your interest. I'm talking about as a husband now. You put your interest, the interest of the wife, ahead of your own interest. Let alone your family, your own interest as a servant leadership. The interest of your wife. Now, I'm addressing particularly the husband. The interest of your wife should be first. I think the same with the wife. The interest of your husband should be first. If we are to show love to each other, I mean, even if it goes to the point of kids, of children, you don't have to be neutral when it comes between to matters between your spouse and your children. No, you choose your spouse. You don't go with your children. Your children found you here. They're going to leave you here. You can't choose. They're going to get married one day and leave you. And what's going to happen? You're going to be following them. They must know that mother and the father are always two. They are together. They are a team together. And if there's a problem with your kids, mom will follow dad will follow mom. Later on in the room, you could talk about maybe this is not how we should have done it. So the point here is, with you cleaving, with you being one flesh with your wife, with your spouse, with you being in a relationship that is so unique, headship and submission, and including the fact that even your children cannot take precedent, it's your partner. Therefore, I conclude, there cannot be any balance. You can't balance. You can't be neutral. You have to be biased. As a result, you should rather, if there's an issue between your spouse and your family, rather it be discussed at some point if it's a serious issue. But you can't be sitting as a chairman. You can't be sitting as a judge because you're judging yourself against your family because that's your flesh. That's your flesh. So it would be unfair for your family to expect you to take a decision, make a decision. And it's unfair for them to force you to choose between us and your wife, choose between us and husband. No, it's chosen already. And you don't need to force. I mean, we love our parents and we love our partners, our spouses, but the love is different. It's a completely different love. The love between me and my parents is not the same as the love between me and my wife. I'm there to die for my wife, but I don't have to die for my family. So therefore, my view is, when it comes to these issues, it should be clear that we are going to be biased. And people should just know that that one is going to speak for his wife or for the husband. Let us not gang against our partners. With our family, it's ugly, especially us guys. I'm talking about the husbands. Let's protect our wives. Sometimes it can be hectic. Let's protect them. You see, if we now going to be saying, put the wife there and says, but you are wrong and we're doing all of that in the public. No, if she's wrong, I'll address that when it's the two of us, but I'm not in public going to say to my wife, you are wrong and be the judge. That's my flesh. That's my flesh. We are one. There's no way we're going to be separated by family. When we got married, the pastor said, let no one put asunder. So that's it. No balance, it's bias. And if it's a serious matter, go for a counselor, go for somebody who's going to be neutral and look into this matter. But you cannot be expected to be the judge or the chairman and discuss the issues between your partner, your spouse, and your family. So that's it. Let's stay together. Let's grow together. Let's love one another. Respect our families, but let them know there are boundaries. Don't give them keys to your house and then come in there at any time. There are boundaries. This is my family, and it must be respected. And it depends upon us as married people how our families will respect us. God bless you. Thanks. Bye. Remember, you can record your questions and post them on this platform, and I will respond. Sometimes, based on the nature of your question, I might just create a podcast based on your question to help others as well. But if it is of a sensitive nature, I will just respond to you directly. Should you need any further intervention, please go to Dr Papu online at yahoo.com, and so we can arrange a session. God bless you.